What is up, everyone? Welcome to the FAA podcast. Another long one today. Coming up, we have the American and the Sun Belt previews. So I think there's 28 total teams. I think there's 14 in each conference. So a little bit longer, a little bit more than the 19 teams did on Friday. But anyways, bunch of injury news as well to go along in the NFL. Nothing. We do have breaking news, actually. We'll talk about the contracts. The highest paid kicker in the NFL history now. The Chiefs, they signed kicker Harrison Butker to a 4-year, $25.6 million extension, $17.75 million guaranteed. Highest paid kicker in NFL history, $6.4 million per year. I think what's also awesome about that deal, represented and negotiated it by himself, no agent. He doesn't got to pay 3% to no one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this deal made a ton of sense. I mean, he, if not the strongest leg, he's one of the most consistent kickers in the game right now. Mm-hmm. He provides Kansas City with what they basically want most, is a guy they can trust constantly from within 50 yards, especially in an outdoor stadium. So, yeah, I mean, this makes sense for both sides. I mean, as a tweet said earlier, Pat Mahomes' boys are getting paid. And, he's one of them.
Yeah, and it just popped into my head, like it feels like he is becoming the next Vinatieri. You look at their careers, it's similar, right? Butker, Vinatieri, won the 3 Super Bowls with the Patriots early in his career. Butker has 3 Super Bowls with the Chiefs, still pretty early in his career. So I'm not saying he's going to be Vinatieri, but he's on the trajectory right now, it seems like, anyways.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to college football news. Michigan is in some trouble once again. Head coach Sharon Moore listed as one of 7 members of the 2023 coaching staff and team that were accused of violating NCAA rules. He can face it's a 2-year show cause penalty and a suspension potentially for allegedly deleting a 52 text thread of messages with Connor Stallions in October last year. And what's worse, he is considered a repeat violator by the NCAA because of his resolution that he got negotiated in August of last year for apparently recruiting during the COVID dead period. So, yeah, I think we're going to get that decision finally soon on the Michigan investigation. And I still say I think it's that big of a deal that the championships should be stripped. At least the last 2 Big Ten championships and all the wins from 22 and 23, potentially even going back to 2021 because that's when Stallions started doing it.
Yeah, I got to agree. I mean, I was speaking about this to my fiance and it was just like, if the worst they can do is a couple suspensions for coaches, a couple scholarships taken away and monetary fines, teams are going to weigh the possibility of doing it against the penalty and go, well, Michigan won a championship. They won multiple conference championships. Screw it. We could swallow this financial penalty. We can lose a couple of scholarships. You got to give them the 2013 Louisville treatment if you really want this to hit home. I'm not saying you go as far as SMU and making them a dead program. Obviously not. I mean, Michigan itself is a moneymaker. They would not do that to an obvious moneymaker. But you got to put the hammer down and I really do think you got to strip the title. Because the biggest incentive to not cheat is losing what you win from cheating.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is the best. That's just the best way to do it.
Yeah, and it helps being a Penn State fan that I hate Michigan, but also this is an objective approach. But yeah, I mean,
I'm an Ohio State guy, so I mean, we're not lovers of Michigan,
right? But yeah, I mean, it's the biggest scandal we've seen in quite a while, and it was actually kind of laughable reading the article about the Sharon Moore situation, and then they went into a little bit about Connor Stallions. The Central Michigan game that he attended that with a field pass on the Central Michigan bench and in a disguise. So that was the funny part that I thought.
Yeah. The very fact that it's a disguise is like, yeah, you were very aware that what you were doing was cheating. I mean, you wouldn't disguise yourself if you really believed it wasn't.
Yeah. So it's crazy and still waiting on it, but as we agreed that, I mean, we've said what we think the penalties should be, and we'll see if the NCAA believes the same.
You got to have the balls to do it.
Yeah. I'd be interested, though, to see the NCAA doesn't take away the championship. The Big Ten can still take away their conference championships, though.
I think no matter the outcome, I think Big Ten will take it away.
Yeah, I mean, the Big Ten, they don't care. They were the ones that actually did something and suspended Harbaugh the last 3 games of the season.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I definitely think at the very least, no matter what the outcome, I think Big Ten will definitely strip.
Yeah. Also, I didn't list it on here, but we're waiting on the AP poll. Obviously, that's the one that most people follow. But we did get the coaches poll today, and guess who's number 1, baby? Back at the top. Go Dogs! Georgia listed in the USA Today coaches poll as the number 1 team in the country. I forget. I think it was like 46 first place votes out of 66, I think, or something like that.
Yeah. Ooh, Ohio State too. I like that.
Yeah. I know Texas got a first place vote, I think, in 5th or something like that.
Yeah, they're in 4th. Michigan got a first place vote. They're in 8th. And yeah. So yeah, very heavy Georgia. Do you want to run through the entire list, or just that's all you want to run through?
I just wanted to make a note about that.
You want to make a note of your boys? That's fair.
The AP is the one that really matters.
Yeah, that's true.
So, once that comes out, we'll talk more about rankings. All right, UFL news. Just a couple workouts to mention. The 49ers working out a couple guys. Michigan Panthers punter Brock Miller and former Stallions punter Drew Chrisman. Probably just looking at punters to give Mitch Wisnowski some off time, some rest during the preseason games, and not wear his leg out too much. And then the Cardinals, they worked out Renegades corner Delonte Hood. So Cardinals are a team that, I think they're still working on their secondary there. So, all right. We had the Hall of Fame weekend. I didn't watch any of the enshrinements. I was making money working, but and there wasn't really a ton of guys that I was interested in watching this year anyways. I didn't even see any clips from anyone other than the Steve McMichael one was heartfelt as well, with his family and players there that he played with as well around him as they announced him. But looking ahead, we're looking to the next class, 2025, first ballot eligible players, notables anyways. Giants quarterback Eli Manning, Seahawks running back Marshawn Lynch, Ravens guard Marsha Yanda, Ravens linebacker Terrell Suggs, Panthers linebacker Luke Kuechly, Buccaneers corner Aqib Talib, Seahawks safety Earl Thomas, and the guy that I mentioned earlier, Patriots and Colts kicker Adam Vinatieri. And you said you had a couple other more notable guys as well that weren't.
I think the biggest one you're missing, I would probably say Joe Staley, tackle out of San Francisco. He's probably a big name there. Croy Matthews is another one. A lot of people might give a couple votes to. But other than that, it's not the best. Yeah, it's a definition of a class of Hall of Very good. I don't think we're going to see a lot of Hall of Famers here.
Yeah, I agree. I think Vinatieri should get in.
I agree.
I don't know. It's very difficult to get a specialist in first ballot, though. So
I think simply because he just owns all the records, I think he has a very good shot at being a first ballot.
Plus, he's a 4-time Super Bowl champ.
Yeah, that too. And like he has 2 Super Bowl game-winning field goals. Right. Hard to put that past him.
Yeah, so I think he's the most likely out of the list that we had. I think these next couple of years, because I don't think 26 is great either, as far as I can think of. But I think this year and next year, these next 2 classes are like the time for the voters to get some of those older guys in. The guys that have been pushed around because of, players becoming eligible that have been really good.
Yeah, because to me, I'm looking at next year's class. To me, there's only 2 I would say are locks, and they are Drew Brees and Larry Fitzgerald. I think those 2 are locks. Maybe Pouncey from Steelers, Geno Atkins, Gotskowski, Deshaun McCoy, Jason Witten, Frank Gore. A couple decent names, but like for me, it's like Brees and Fitzgerald to me are locks, especially Fitzgerald.
I would say Brees more than Fitzgerald. I know Fitz is like 4th all time in receiving or something like that, but still, it's I don't know. When it comes to the wide receiver position, I feel like they don't like, because there's just so many guys. I don't know, but because T.O. wasn't a freaking Hall of Fame first ballot, and he's the 2nd leading receiver all time.
That is fair. I wonder what T.O.'s class was too, because it might also have been a class situation where he was surrounded.
It was just the voters didn't want to put him first ballot because of his personality. But yeah, back to this list though. Like I said, Vinatieri, and then my next guy I would put is Luke Kuechly.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at his career, Patrick Willis just got in this year. I think it's very comparable to Patrick Willis. Luke Kuechly didn't play super long either. And so I think when you look at Luke Kuechly, he was probably the dominant guy at the off-ball linebacker position of his time. So, yeah, I think that would be the other guy that I would say.
Yeah, I got to agree. Even though he only had an 8-year career, he's an all-decade player. He won Defensive Player of the Year and won 7 All-Pros and 7 Pro Bowls. I mean, that's doing the most of less. There is an argument against, just because of it's only an 8-year career. Like, people do like longevity, but I really like Kuechly.
And his 2015 playoffs were absolutely ridiculous. 3 pick sixes.
He was a beast. I mean, if they win that Super Bowl, against the Broncos, you're talking about Kuechly having one of the best individual defensive playoff performances ever.
Yeah.
It goes down as like one of the best ever.
Yeah, for sure. I know you don't want to talk about Eli because
I don't see it. Who's that QB that won with the Raiders way back in the day? I'm gonna look it up. Raiders QB with Super Bowl.
Ken Stabler.
Ken Stabler? I don't think it's Ken Stabler that I'm thinking of. Jim Plunkett.
Oh, Jim Plunkett.
Yeah, Jim Plunkett. I mean, he won 2 Super Bowls, won Super Bowl MVP. I mean, this guy's, is he even in the Hall of Fame? I don't think he is. He's college football Hall of Fame.
I don't believe so.
Jim Plunkett is not in the NFL Hall of Fame. I kind of hold Eli Manning and Jim Plunkett in kind of the same tier of quarterback. I think the biggest thing for Eli is just the statistical anomaly of how insanely clutch he was in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like he legitimately breaks algorithms to try to determine how clutch he is because he was just that clutch. But at the same time, it was just outside of those two insanely great Super Bowls where he won MVP both times. Pluckett only has one, but he has two, so he has that. But outside of those two Super Bowls, I mean, in a very long career, he only had 4 Pro Bowls, never had an All-Pro. I mean, it's just he led the league in interceptions 3 separate times.
Yeah.
I just don't see it. I just really don't see it.
Well, and he only ranks like I think he's only like 14th or something in passing yards,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe even lower. I forget. I know he's not like very high,
Yeah.
where you would want a Hall of Famer, especially in the area that we're in with the passing attack as potent as it is right now.
Yeah, he's definitely not first, but could he make it sometime in the future? I think he probably will. Probably in the future, maybe like last year of eligibility push or like on those later ballots. But yeah, I would be just dumbfounded if he was a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Just because he's a Manning, that's why he's going in.
Honestly, politics, man. I tell you.
All right. The Broncos, they announced their dates for their throwback uniforms. And let's get them right here. They're going to wear these in week 5 against the Raiders and week 18 against the Chiefs. So that could be interesting. I love them. I really like these ones.
So beautiful.
The D
Especially
on the helmet.
helmets. Oh yeah, come on.
Yeah.
Give me the 80s, Broncos, John Elway, a Bronco look. Oh, beautiful.
The socks too. Three orange stripes on the blue socks.
Oof.
Yeah.
How about the cat call? That's how good they look.
Dude, what is this? What is that?
Whoa.
What the hell?
I think it's a fan-made one. It has I love it. It has the very old Bronco logo on the side. It looks like a Bronco that got hit in the head multiple times by other Broncos.
I think a kid drew that one.
No, it's a real logo.
Pets are tan. It's good, isn't it? Yeah, okay. All right, injuries. Just every show, it feels like there's just a laundry
there was
list.
another one today you don't even have on the thing, so I'll mention that at the end.
Okay. The Cardinals, they are going to have some issues. Edge rusher B.J. Ojulari, he tore his ACL. He is done for the season. So, they have Zaven Collins now at edge rush. They have my guy, who I absolutely love, Dennis Gardeck. Does not get enough love, but I love my guy, Dennis Gardeck, out there. So yeah, it's going to be a struggle for Arizona in the pass rush department without Ojulari for sure, former second-round pick. Panthers, rookie running back Jonathan Brooks coming back from his ACL that he had at Texas. Head coach Dave Canales said they expect him to be ready by around week 3 or 4, which I think is pretty solid. And I think that's a very conservative timeline. They want to make sure he's totally 100% ready to go. And I think that's fine. I think, you're on a team that is going to struggle a little bit, but if all goes well and Brooks is the guy that most people think he can be at 100%, I mean, getting him back at that 100 is key.
Oh yeah. I mean, hey, it's why I drafted him.
Yeah.
He's my guy. He's my future guy.
Every single best ball draft, I have him. Sticking with Carolina here, they're dealing with some tight end injuries. Tight end Ian Thomas, he has a calf injury, and tight end Tommy Tremble has a hamstring injury. So you know what's great about that? Our guy, JT Sanders, baby.
Let's go.
Working with the first team. He's going to take that tight end spot, starting spot there in Carolina. We'd love to see that. Rams, they have some injuries. Offensive tackle Rob Havenstein has a foot, and offensive tackle Alaric Jackson dealing with an ankle. Both are week to week, as is wide receiver Puka Nacua with a knee injury. So some key players for the Rams, right and left tackle, and starting wide receiver there for LA on the mend. Browns wide receiver Elijah Moore, he has a concussion, so we're back from that. Broncos corner Levi Wallace, he has a hamstring injury. Chiefs offensive tackle Wanye Morris dealing with a shoulder injury. So it's another rookie out there getting some more reps, and it's looking more and more likely that Kingsley Suamataia is going to take that left tackle job in KC. Speaking of rookies, Panthers rookie wide receiver Xavier Leggett, he has a foot injury. X-rays were negative. I haven't heard anything about the MRI yet, but I think he's going to be okay. The Bills dealing with some safety injuries. Safety Mike Edwards has a hamstring, and rookie safety Cole Bishop dealing with a shoulder. Both are listed as week to week. And Bengals, bad news for them. Edge rusher Cam Sample, he is out for the year, torn Achilles today.
That's rough. Yeah, I think the one you missed, now I'll mention just now, is that Browns defensive end Zadarius Smith was carted off in practice. From reports say he left holding his left side in an obvious pain. So that's a pretty tough loss there. And man, I don't want to say I was right, but there was a reason I really wanted him to go Chris Braswell second round. Just saying. I had a feeling Braswell would be good. I mean, I haven't heard much yet, but I mean.
Well, they beefed up the interior trying to help Myles Garrett, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Some more deals that went down all over the weekend here. The Dolphins, they signed wide receiver Tyreek Hill to a restructured contract. He gets $90 million with $65 million guaranteed. No new years were added. So over the next 4 seasons that he is signed through, he now is fully guaranteed $106.5 million, the highest for any wide receiver in the league.
Not bad.
And let's go back to the Cardinals. They signed edge rusher Zaven Collins to a 2-year, $14 million extension, $11.25 million guaranteed. It's a pretty good deal for a guy that former first-round pick had been written off, changed positions multiple times, and they're hoping that he's finally settled now at outside linebacker as a pass rusher instead of playing off ball like he came into the league. Couple of free agent signings. Also, the Titans, they signed Seahawks safety Quandre Diggs to a 1-year, $5 million deal. So now multiple Seahawks safeties in Tennessee now with Jamal Adams signed there as well. They just keep losing safeties to injuries. They've had a bunch of injuries at the safety position, just like Buffalo has. But it's crazy that Quandre Diggs was still available. Like, he's been solid throughout his career with Detroit and Seattle. And the Eagles, they got some linebacker depth this week. They signed Jaguars linebacker Shaquille Quarterman to a 1-year deal. Sure, why not?
Why not?
And just popped up on the X feed here, the Packers tight end Tucker Kraft. He has passed his physical. He is off of the PUP list. So another weapon for Jordan Love to utilize.
Yeah, good for them.
And you are out, Jimmy.
This is the part where I pop off because I have no idea what any of these teams are.
You
Have a
gotta
good one,
watch.
Rusty.
You gotta watch in order to know.
Dude, I do watch, but I just again, I just don't know much quite yet. I don't want to give my opinion on things I clearly don't know anything about because I'm not an idiot.
All right.
Have a good one.
Okay, let's get to the American Athletic Conference season preview. 14 teams in the conference. They added Army this year, so there is that. Starting off with the team that they also lost some teams. SMU is gone to the ACC there, so they got Army in though this season. Tulane, the runners-up last year, 11-3, 8-1 in conference, finished second in the AAC championship game. Losses: head coach Willie Fritz went to Houston to coach the Cougars. Quarterback Michael Pratt drafted by the Packers. Wide receiver Jaquan Jackson drafted by the Titans. Wide receiver Chris Brazel, the second, is transferred to Tennessee. Wide receiver Lawrence Keys, the third, is on the Bills. Guard Prince Pines, drafted by the Saints. Defensive lineman Keith Cooper Jr. he transferred to Houston. Edge rusher Darius Hodges is on the Panthers. Linebacker Jared Small is gone. Corner Jarius Monroe went to the Jets. Corner Lance Robinson went to Cincinnati. Defensive back DJ Douglas went to Florida. Safety Cam Pedesclo is gone, as is kicker Valentino Ambrosio. Returning for the Green Wave, though, quarterback Kai Horton, running back Mekhi Hughes, running back Shadi Clayton Johnson, wide receiver Yokeith Brown, a tight end Alex Bauman, offensive tackle Rashad Green, guard Josh Remitich, defensive tackle Patrick Jenkins, linebacker Jesus Machado, linebacker Tyler Grubbs, who I absolutely love, beast of a player, safety Bailey Despani as well. Of course, as we've been talking about last show, head coach transition, big influx and outflux of players in the transfer portal. Tulane really didn't lose a ton in the transfer portal. It was a lot of guys leaving for the NFL. But they have a ton of transfers. Head coach John Summerall becomes the new head coach from Troy. Quarterback Ty Thompson comes in from Oregon. Wide receiver Shaz Preston from Alabama. Wide receiver Mario Williams from USC. Wide receiver Kai Preen from LSU. Offensive tackle Derek Graham from Texas A&M. Freshman guard Dominic Stewart. Center Vincent Murphy comes in from Western Kentucky. Edge rusher Aiden Huntington from UL Monroe. Edge rusher Terrell Allen from Tennessee State. Linebacker Caleb Ransolph from Troy, as is linebacker Chris Rogers. Linebacker Sam Howard from Austin Peay. Corner Lou Tillery from UL Monroe. Corner Jonathan Edward from Indiana State. Freshman corner Jaden Lewis. Corner Micah Robinson from Furman. Safety Jalen Geiger from Kentucky. Safety Jack Shionsho from Troy. And kicker Jacob Barnes from Louisiana Tech. So a lot of players in for head coach John Summerall. And this is why I believe Tulane really isn't going to miss a lot. Kai Horton, young quarterback, but they got Ty Thompson, who played pretty well in some of the blowouts that Oregon was playing. And Bo Nix, they were sitting him to rest him and played Ty Thompson. So I believe in Ty, and he's a mobile quarterback, just like Kai Horton is as well. Mekhi Hughes, great running back. Yokeith Brown, excellent wide receiver as well. So the defense, I think, is going to be the question mark. That's where they got the most transfers in. But let's look at the schedule here. At home versus Southeastern Louisiana on a Thursday night to start the season out. They'll win that one. At home versus Kansas State. Now, Kansas State had a lot of players lost. They lost Will Howard to Ohio State at quarterback. So it's going to be an interesting one, but I think KSU is good enough that they will win that one. At Oklahoma, they're going to lose that one. At Louisiana, that is going to be one of the toughest road games that they have in conference. Or actually, that's not in conference. I'm thinking of the Sun Belt already. But anyways, I think they squeak by that one. It's a tough road game, but they start out the non-conference slate 2-2. And then they start the AAC schedule here at home against USF. They win to get to 3-2. At UAB, they win to get to 4-2 into the first bye. At home against Rice, they win to get to 5-2. At North Texas, 6-2. At Charlotte on a Thursday, 7-2. At home versus Temple, 8-2. At Navy, 9-2. Second bye comes very late, and then they're at home versus Memphis on a Thursday. And because it's in Tulane, I'm going to give them the win, and it's on a weird Thursday night. So it's a 10-2 season. An excellent, excellent year for Tulane and head coach John Summerall. Tulane stays relevant. They really don't play any teams that I think are going to be good in the American this year other than Memphis, and that's the last game of the season. So 10-2, and I believe it's an 8-0 conference. Yeah, 8-0 in conference. The Memphis one's the only one. So, yeah. Let's go to the Roadrunners here. UTSA losses. Quarterback Frank Harris medically retired. Wide receiver Joshua Cephas is on the Jaguars. Wide receiver Tyke Ogle-Kellogg is gone. Defensive tackle Brandon Matterson is on the Broncos. Edge rusher Trey Moore transferred to Texas. Corner Nick Troy Fortune is gone. Defensive back Cam Alexander is transferred to Oregon. And safety Rashad Wisdom is on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They have a ton of returning production, though. Quarterbacks Owen McCown and Eddie Lee Marburger. Running backs Kavorian Barnes, Robert Henry, and Rocco Griffin. Wide receivers DeCorian Clark, Devin McEwen, Willie McCoy. Tight end Oscar Cardenas. Offensive tackle Buffalo Cruz. Offensive tackle Makai Hart. Guards Venli Tatafu and Corey Godinet. Linebackers Jamal Ligon, Martavius French, Danye Taylor, and Jamori Robinson. Safeties Ken Robinson and Elliot Davison. Punter Cale Hogan, and kicker Chase Allen. So very experienced squad. The only thing is the quarterback. The quarterback concerns me with Frank Harris gone, but they have a lot of skilled players and offensive linemen returning. Transfers for the Roadrunners. Wide receiver J.J. Sparkman from Texas Tech. Offensive tackle Kamar Missouri from Rutgers. Offensive tackle Andrew Alvarado from Houston Christian. Guard Jonah Miller from Santa Rosa Junior College. Center C.J. James from New Mexico. Linebacker Ian Jackson from Alabama. Linebacker Brevin Randall from Louisiana Tech. Corner Denver Harris from LSU. Corner Zach Morris from New Mexico. And safety Jermarius Lewis from New Mexico. So some solid players. The big one in the transfer portal was Denver Harris. Has played at Alabama, has played at LSU as well. Really solid player, former 5-star recruit. And let's see what we got on the schedule for UTSA here. At home against Kennesaw State, start off. They win that one. At Texas State. I really believe in the Bobcats. GJ Kinney's a great coach. They had a good first year last season, and it's going to be a tough one. So I'm actually going to give UTSA the loss on the road. At Texas State, they lose at Texas as well. At home against Houston Christian, they win that one to get to 2-2 in non-conference play. Conference play starts at East Carolina. They win that one to get to 3-2 into the first bye week 6. That's a big bye week for the conference. At Rice, they win to get to 4-2. At home against FAU is 5-2. At Tulsa is 6-2. At home against Memphis, I really like Memphis this year, so drop that one to 6-3 into the second bye week 11. At home versus North Texas on a Friday night, they win that one to get to 7-3. At home against Temple on a back-to-back Friday nights, 8-3, and then they go to Army to finish 9-3, 7-1 in conference. So another really solid season for the Roadrunners there, and we'll see if that is good enough to get them into the conference championship game. Let's go to Memphis. The Memphis Tigers last year, 10-3, 6-2 in conference, finished 4th overall. Losses. Running back Blake Watson went to the Broncos. Wide receiver Joseph Skates is on the Jaguars. Edge rusher Jalen Allen is on the Broncos. Linebacker Jeffrey Canton-Arku is on the Montreal Alouettes in the CFL. Corner Diego Brumfield transferred to Mississippi State. Defensive back Simeon Blair is gone. Safety Cam Smith is transferred to TCU, and kicker Seth Morgan transferred to Tulsa. Returning for the Tigers here, quarterback Seth Hennigan, running back Sutton Smith, wide receiver Rock Taylor, wide receiver Demir Blankumsey, wide receiver Kobe Drake, guard Xavier Hill, center Jonah Gamble, linebacker Chandler Martin, safety Greg Rubin, and kicker Tanner Gillis. But they went wild in the transfer portal, did Memphis. Running back Mario Alexander comes in from South Carolina, wide receiver Jair Shorter from Auburn, wide receiver Jacoby Banks from Houston, offensive tackle Jalen Nichols from South Carolina, offensive tackle Keydrell Lewis from UL Monroe, offensive tackle Calvin McMillan from Holmes Community College, offensive tackle Jonathan Young from Iowa Central Community College, guard Trent Holler from Marshall, guard Isaiah Reed from Louisville, defensive tackle Patrick Lucas Jr. from Indiana, edge rusher Devin Baldwin from Jacksonville State, linebacker Javante Mackey from Arkansas State, linebacker Matt Hudson from Harvard, linebacker Wesley Scott from Tuscaloosa, linebacker Jaden Flaker from North Carolina Central, corner Jordan Greer from Indiana, safety Cortland Marsh from Samford, safety Taj Rael from Old Dominion, safety A.J. Watts from UL Monroe, punter Joshua Sloan from UTEP, and kicker Caden Costa from Ole Miss. So just a crazy, crazy offseason for the Tigers in the portal. Guys, I really like. Mario Anderson should be good. Jair Shorter has been solid wherever he's gone. They get a ton of offensive linemen in as well. And Taj Rael was solid at Old Dominion last year also. So I'm excited. There's a bunch of guys that came back. Seth Hennigan being the main one. Consistency at quarterback is key in college football. They're coming off a big 10-win season last year. Let's see what we got on the record here. North Alabama at home. They win that one. At home versus Troy, the defending Sun Belt champs. It is in Memphis, Tennessee. So I think they take that one 2-0. At Florida State, they lose to get to 2-1. At Navy, 3-1. At home versus Mid-Tennessee, 4-1 into the first bye week. At USF on a Friday, 5-1. At home versus North Texas, 6-1. At home versus Charlotte, 7-1. At UTSA, I have them winning that one, 8-1. At home versus Rice on a Friday, 9-1. At home versus UAB, 10-1 into the second bye week. And at Tulane, I had Tulane winning that one to get to 10-2 for Memphis. And they are 7-1 in conference play. So we are looking at a Tulane-Memphis showdown in the AAC championship game. Let's head to USF, 7-6 last season, 4-4 in conference, finished 5th overall. Losses, quarterback Gary Bohannon went to BYU, running back Michelle Dukes to Georgia State, wide receiver Coffrey Brown to Arkansas, guard Donovan Jennings is on the Packers, guard Bayron Matos is on the Dolphins, linebacker DJ Gordon IV is gone, corner Braxton Clark is gone, as is defensive back Daquan Evans. They have a bunch of guys returning, though, for the USF Bulls this year. Quarterback Byram Brown, running back Naquan Wright, wide receivers Sean Atkins, Naeem Simmons, Michael Brown-Stevens, Jaden Alexis, offensive tackles RJ Perry and Derek Bowman, guard Zane Herring, center Mike Lofton, linebacker Jalen Schuler, corners Taven Ward and Amarius Brown, safeties Jalen Stokes and Logan Berryhill, punter Andrew Stokes, and kicker John Cannon. not a lot of transfers for the Bulls, but wide receiver Abdur Rahman Yassin comes in from Purdue. They got freshman wide receiver Joshua Porter, guard Hayden Zepp from Jacksonville State, edge rusher Jalen Pettis from Iowa Western Community College, corner DeMarco Augustine from Youngstown State, corner Brent Alston from James Madison, corner Deshaun Rucker from Tennessee, and safety Kwan Banks from South Carolina. So I think USF's going to be competitive. Byron Brown is still suspect to me. But let's see what we got. They're at home against Bethune-Cookman week 1. They win that one. They go to Alabama and lose to get to 1-1 at Southern Miss. I think they can win that one. 2-1 at home against Miami, lose 2-2 at Tulane, 2-3. Bye week 6 at home against Memphis on a Friday night. They lose that one to get to 2-4 at home against UAB. 2-5, I think. At second bye week 9 at FAU on a Friday night. I think they lose that one, and it's a tough 2-6 record already. But they get a win against Navy at home. 3-6 at Charlotte. They win to get to 4-6 at home against Tulsa, 5-6, and at Rice they win out to get to 6-6, and go bowling once again. And let's see what the conference record is. It might be 4-4 again because I have them losing to Tulane, Memphis, UAB, and FAU. Yep, 4-4 once again. For the USF Bulls in conference play. Moving on to the Rice Owls. Losses for Rice. Quarterback JT Daniels retired. Running back Juma Ottaviano is gone. Wide receiver Luke McCaffrey drafted by the Commanders. Defensive lineman DeBraylon Carroll went to Texas Tech, and corner Trayshawn Devonis went to Duke. Good amount returning for the Owls. Quarterback A.J. Padgett. Running back Dean Connors, who I absolutely love. You got to watch that kid play this year. Wide receiver Landon Ransom Goals. Wide receiver Rawson McNeil. Tight end Bowden Groen. Offensive tackle Ethan Anianwa. Guards Brant Banks and Lavelle Dumont. Center Braden Nutter. Edge rusher Coleman Coco. Linebacker Myron Morrison, linebacker Play Wyatt, linebacker Chris Conti, corner Sean Fresh, safety Gabriel Taylor, punter Connor Hunt, and kicker Tim Horn. And only a couple of transfers in. Rice is a tough place to get guys to come. Quarterback E.J. Warner comes in from Temple, offensive tackle Spencer Castle from Harvard, and edge rusher Michael Daly from BYU. So love the E.J. Warner play. I think he's going to be competing with Padgett for the starting job. I think it's going to be a solid quarterback competition there for Rice. Into the record here for the Owls at home against Sam Houston State. They win that one. At home against Texas Southern, they go 2-0. At Houston, they lose, though, 2-1. At Army, that's a tough one. I think 2-2. At home against Charlotte, I think they can win that one to get to 3-2 into the Week 6 bye. At home against UTSA, they lose to get to 3-3. At Tulane, 3-4. At UConn, I'm going to give them a loss because it's at UConn, 3-5. At home against Navy, I'm going to go to 4-5. At Memphis on a Friday night, 4-6. Second bye week 12. At UAB, 4-7, and then at home against USF, 4-8. So a step back for the Owls this year. 4-8, and their lone wins in conference are going to be Navy, Charlotte, and I think that is it. Yeah, so 2-6 in conference play. They have a tough schedule. UTSA, Tulane, Memphis, UAB, and the swing games I think are going to be Army, USF, the UConn game as well. I think those are the 3 games that Rice could possibly win. And if they do, cool. 7-5 season. They're a better team than they were last year. But I have them at 4-8 right now. Let's get to the Navy midshipmen. The military academies are always interesting because they really can't get transfers. But losses for Navy. Quarterback Ty Lavatai is gone. Quarterback Xavier Arline is on the Navy lacrosse team now. Wide receiver Jaden Umbarger and linebacker Will Harbor all gone as well. Returning for the midshipmen, quarterback Braxton Woodson, running back Eli Heidenreich, running back Brandon Chapman, fullbacks Alex Texa and Daba Fofana, offensive tackles Trey Cummings and Connor McMahon, guard Ben Purvis, center Brent Self, defensive tackle Landon Robinson, edge rushers Luke Pierce and Justin Reed, linebacker Colin Ramos, who is excellent player, excellent. Sideline to sideline type guy. Corner Deshaun Peel, safeties Raywan Lane III and Mbidi Williams Jr., punter Riley Reithman, and kicker Nathan Kirkwood. Like I said, no transfers in for Navy, so that's what makes it hard to improve your roster year in and year out. Let's get to the schedule for Navy here at home against Bucknell. They win. They beat Temple at home as well to get to 2-0 into the early week 3 bye because Army Navy get 3 byes apiece. Technically, they get 4 with conference title week in between, but they get 3 byes for their troubles. At home against Memphis, they lose to get to 2-1. At UAB, 2-2. At Air Force, 2-3. Into the second bye week 7. At home against Charlotte, 3-3. At home against Notre Dame, 3-4. At Rice, 3-5. At USF, 3-6. At home against Tulane, 3-7. Week 13 bye at East Carolina. I'll give them 4-7. Conference championship week is a bye, and then at Army, 5-7 once again for Navy, just missing out on the bowls. And in conference, it's going to be because the Army game is counted as a non-conference game for them. So they technically do play 9 in conference, but I like them to beat Temple and Charlotte and East Carolina. So 3-5 in conference. Yeah, because I have UAB, Memphis, Rice, USF, and Tulane all beating them. So not a bad year, but not bowling again for Navy. Let's go on to the next team, the North Texas Mean Green here. Losses a bunch. Quarterback Chandler Rogers went to Cal. Quarterback Stone Early left the program. Running back Ayo Adei went to James Madison. Running back Oscar Attaway III went to South Carolina. Running back Isaiah Johnson went to Abilene Christian. Wide receiver Jamori Macklin went to Kentucky. Wide receiver Roderick Burns is gone. Wide receiver Trey Cleveland went to Abilene Christian. Defensive lineman Mazen Richards is gone. Defensive back Logan Wilson is on the Bengals, or went to Cincinnati. Safety Patrick Smith is gone, as is safety Phil Hill and kicker Noah Rauschenberg. Returning for the Mean Green, though, wide receiver Damone Ward Jr., wide receiver Blair Conwright, offensive tackle Larry Moore III, guard Gabe Blair, center Jeff Duncan, linebacker Jordan Brown, linebacker Ethan Wislowski, corner Ridge Tejada, and punter Sawyer Evans. Mean Green had a mean influx of talent in the transfer portal and freshmen, so let's get to it. Quarterback Chandler Morris comes in from TCU. He's going to be their starter They have freshman quarterback Cash McCollum. Running back Zach Evans is from Minnesota. Wide receiver Jeremiah Aaron from West Virginia. Wide receiver Dalton Carnes from Houston. They have freshman wide receiver Mason Ferguson. Wide receiver DT Sheffield from Washington State. Wide receiver Shane Porter from Kansas State. Tight end Oscar Hammond from Central Oklahoma. Offensive tackle Makai Lee from Missouri. Offensive tackle Jasper Lott from TCU. Guard Landon Peterson from Texas Tech. Guard Johnny Dixon III from Virginia Tech. Freshman center Tyler Mercer. Defensive tackle VJ Bronson from Arkansas State. Defensive end Jake Shipley from Oregon. Defensive end Terrell Dawkins from South Carolina. Linebacker JJ Jean-Louis from Iowa State. Corner Xavier Bryce from Texas. Corner Ishim Young from Ole Miss. Safety BJ Allen Jr. from Texas. Safety Jaden Hill from Ohio Dominican. Safety David Sprules from Northern Arizona. And kicker Blake Ford from Arkansas. So a lot of great players there coming into UNT. Let's see if it makes a difference on their record last year. 5-7, 3-5 in conference, finished 8th last year. At South Alabama, I think they lose that one. That's a tough place to play in Mobile. So lost that, but they come home. They beat Stephen F. Austin to get to 1-1. At Texas Tech is a loss, 2-1. At home against Wyoming, I think they can beat them because it's at North Texas. So 2-2 non-conference. At home against Tulsa, 3-1 or 3-2 into the bye. At Florida Atlantic is a loss, as is at Memphis, and home against Tulane. So 3-5 there. Going into the second bye, week 10. At home against Army, though, they win to get to 4-5. At UTSA on a Friday, 4-6. At home against ECU, it get to 5-6, and at Temple, they get to 6-6. So improvement for North Texas, and they are going bowling. So in conference, they have wins against, let's see, Tulsa, Army, ECU, and Temple. So 4-4. It's a 1-win improvement for North Texas all around. Let's go to the Blazers. UAB here. Losses. Running back Jermaine Brown Jr. is on the Edmonton Elks, the CFL. Wide receiver Tawan Palmer, drafted by the Cardinals. Wide receiver Fred Ferrier II is at Kentucky. Linebacker Jackson Bratton is gone, as is linebacker Nakia Eason Jr. Defensive back Mac McWilliams went to UCF. Defensive back BJ Mays went to Texas A&M. Safety Keandre Swoops is gone. Safety Ike Rowell went to North Alabama. And kicker Matt Quinn is gone as well. Good amount of returning talent for the Blazers. Quarterback Jacob Zeno. Quarterback Landry Liddy. Running back Lee Beebe Jr. Running back Isaiah Jacobs. Wide receiver Amari Thomas. Tight end Bryce Damus. Offensive tackle Trey Bedosky. Guard Quez Yates, center Brady Wilson, defensive tackle Kevin Penn, edge rusher Desmond Little, linebacker Michael Moore, corner Colby Dempsey, safety Ricky Lee III, and punter Patrick Foley, all back for UAB. Transfers in for the Blazers. Offensive tackle John Darius Morgan comes from South Carolina. Offensive tackle DJ Jones from Murray State. Defensive tackle Ladarius Cox from Indiana. Linebacker O.C. Brothers from Purdue. Linebacker Jax Van Zant from North Texas. Linebacker Eddie Tusum from Navarro College. Corner Adrian Maddox from Alabama State. And safety Sirad Bryant from Georgia Tech. So some trenches guys there. And for the Blazers, let's see. At home against Alcorn State on a Thursday night, week 1, they win. At UL Monroe, they win to get to 2-0. At Arkansas, they lose to get to 2-1. Week 4 bye. At home against Navy is a 3-1. At home against Tulane, 3-2. At Army to get to 4-2. At USF, 5-2. Week 9, second bye. At home against Tulsa is 6-2. At home against UConn is 7-2. At Memphis is 7-3. At home against Rice is 8-3. And at Charlotte, the Blazers 9-3 I really like UAB this year. And in conference play, their only 2 losses are Memphis and Tulane. So it's a 6-2 conference record. Really solid for UAB, improving. Yeah, I like some of their players there. We'll see, though. We'll see. They just have a good schedule, I think, is what really helps them out. Let's go to FAU, another Owls team in the conference. They lost quarterback Daniel Richardson to Florida A&M, quarterback Casey Thompson to Oklahoma, quarterback Michael Johnson Jr. to Syracuse, running back Larry McCammon III is gone, running back Kobe Lewis is on the Seahawks, wide receiver Jaquan Burton is on the Dolphins, wide receiver LeJontay Wester went to Colorado, wide receiver Tony Johnson went to Cincinnati, wide receiver Devin Price went to Ole Miss. Defensive tackle Evan Anderson is on the 49ers. Defensive lineman Decarius Hawthorne went to USF. Linebacker Courtney McBride Jr. went to South Alabama. Corner Darius McClendon went to Bowling Green. Defensive back Jaron Morris is gone as well. Returning for the Owls, offensive tackle Malcolm Lamar Sr., guard Andre Lamis, center Federico Merengues, edge rusher Marlon Bradley, linebacker Jackson Ambush, linebacker Desmond Tisdall, corner Dede Hill, punter Logan Lupo, and kickers Carter Davis and Morgan Suarez. A lot of transfers for FAU this year, and the coach Tom Herman, quarterback Cam Fancher comes in from Marshall, running back George Johnson III from UMass, wide receiver EJ Horton from West Virginia, wide receiver Marlon Johnson from Buffalo, wide receiver Milan Tucker from App State, wide receiver Caleb Coombs from Marshall, offensive tackle Daughtry Richardson from Florida State, offensive tackle Jacavian Nonar from Maryland, defensive tackle Devontae Davis from Jackson State, defensive tackle Prince Boyd from Purdue, edge rusher Eric Brantley Jr. from Colorado, edge rusher Chisholm Ifeani from Shippensburg, good old P-SAC player there, corner Kazir Brown from Maine, corner Logic Hudgens from Monroe College, safety Philip Dunham from Indiana, safety Wendell Fillard from Kaiser, and freshman safety Jaheim Miller as well. So a lot of good players coming into FAU. I love Cam Fancher. I think he's going to be a really solid player, and he brought Corey Coombs with him and got some help on the defense as well with some good players. And, of course, other wide receivers that they got in the portal. At Michigan State on a Friday, they lose that one. They come home, though. They win the next 2 at home against Army and at home against FIU, rivalry game there as well. At UConn, I think they are good enough to beat the Huskies on the road, though. 3-1 in non-conference, or actually, I shouldn't say that. Army is a conference game. 3-1 to start the year. At home against Wagner, they go 4-1 into the Week 6 bye. At home against North Texas, I like them to win that one, 5-1. At UTSA, they lose, though, to get to 5-2 into the second bye, Week 9. At home against USF on a Friday, I think I had USF losing that one. So 6-2. At East Carolina on a Thursday night, 7-2. At Temple, 8-2. At home against Charlotte, 9-2. At Tulsa, 10-2. They have a really nice schedule. The only really solid team they play, Michigan State, which isn't even that solid. And then UTSA. So 10-2. I love the Owls' schedule this year, especially down the stretch there. The ECU to Tulsa, the last 4 of the season, I think, are pretty solid games for them, even though 3 out of the 4 are on the road. 10-2, though, and their only loss is to UTSA in conference. So 7-1 in conference. Big fan of FAU. Give Tom Herman some credit. Cam Fancher and boys coming in. Let's go to the Charlotte Miners. 3-9 last year, 2-6, finished 11th. I forgot to say FAU finished 4-8, 3-5, 10th in conference. But we're on Charlotte now, 3-9, 2-6, 11th in conference last season. Not a great year for the 49ers. Losses, quarterback Jalen Jones is gone. Wide receiver Jack Hestera went to Utah State. Edge rusher Ayabi Okianoma is on the Houston Roughnecks in the UFL. Linebacker Demetrius Knight II went to South Carolina. Linebacker Nakai Hill Green went to Colorado. Corner Dantes Fagan went to West Virginia. And defensive back Cameron Howard went to Alabama. Returning for the 49ers here, quarterback Trexler Ivy, running back Teron Kelman, running back Hassan Wilson, wide receivers Jarris Mack, Dwayne Thomas Jr., tight ends Colin Weber and Bryce Kennan, center Johnny King, edge rusher Damone Clowney, linebacker Prince Bama, corner Dante Balfour and CJ Burton, and kicker Kyle Kunanen. Big transfer class for Charlotte. They had a ton of guys coming in this year, which I think that is why they expect to improve. Quarterback Max Brown in from Florida, running back Cartevius Norton from Iowa State, wide receiver Justin Olson from Mid-Tennessee, wide receiver Omega Blake from ECU, wide receiver Isaiah Myers from Independence Community College, offensive tackle Johnny Hassard from UMass, offensive tackle Tyler Gibson from Georgia Tech, offensive tackle Jordan Herman from Florida, guard Jordan Moko from Texas A&M, guard Mitchell Mays from Clemson, guard Mo Clipper Jr. from Tennessee, defensive tackle Dre Butler from Michigan State, defensive tackle Dre Martin from South Carolina, edge rusher Steven Sings V from Auburn, edge rusher Chance Williams from Miami, linebacker Avery Morris from New Mexico State, linebacker Donovan Spellman from Appalachian State, linebacker Aiden Kaler from Stony Brook, corner CJ Clinkscales from Boston College, corner Anthony Rumpf from Western Michigan, corner Trayvon Booker from Campbell, corner Sammy Anderson Jr. from Cincinnati, safety Travion McGee from Iowa State, and punter Michael O'Shaughnessy from Michigan State. So a ton of players in for Charlotte. Let's see if that sways me or not. Especially on the offensive line, they got a lot of guys. At home versus James Madison. I don't think JMU is going to be as good this year, as we'll see in the Sun Belt preview, but I do think they're better than Charlotte, so give me JMU to win that one on the road. At UNC, they're going to lose to get to 0-2. At home versus Gardner-Webb, they win to get to 1-2. At Indiana. Dude, I'm telling you, Indiana is going to be a good team this year. They're going to fight a lot. Kurt Cignetti went up there to be the head coach, and he brought a lot of his players with him. So they have a really solid roster. So 1-3 for Charlotte. At Rice, I have 1-4. At home against ECU, I think they win that to get to 2-4. Week 7 bye. At Navy, they lose that one to get to 2-5. At Memphis, 2-6. At home against Tulane on a Thursday night, 2-7 into the Week 11 bye. At home against USF, I think I had them losing that one to get to 2-8. At FAU, 2-9, and at home against UAB, they upset UAB at home. Or actually, no, I had UAB winning. So 2-10 for Charlotte. I think it's a tough schedule. They have to play Memphis, Tulane, FAU on the road. Of course, JMU and UNC, like I said, have to go to Rice. And then the other tough home games are UAB and USF. So, yeah, it's a tough year, 2-10. It's hard to predict these types of seasons, but, someone's got to do it. So, in conference play, they only have the one win, I think, against ECU there. Yeah, that and the Gardner-Webb win. That is the only win they have. So 1-7 in conference. Take a step back for Charlotte, even with the influx of talent there in the transfer portal. It's all about the schedule, though, really, in college football, especially when you get to these big conferences nowadays. All right, let's go to Tulsa, the Golden Hurricanes. Losses. Quarterback Braylon Braxton went to Marshall. Quarterback Roman Fuller is gone. Running back Jordan Ford went to Georgia State. Wide receiver Carl Chester went to Marshall. Wide receiver Devin Williams and Marquise Shoulders went to Houston. Offensive tackle Daryl Simpson is on the Ravens. Defensive lineman Ben Kopensky is gone. Linebacker Julian Simon went to UConn. Safety Kendarian Ray is gone. Safety Jace Oliver went to TCU. And kicker Chase Meyer went to Penn State. Returning for the Golden Hurricanes, quarterback Cardell Williams, quarterback Kirk Francis, running backs Anthony Watkins and Bill Jackson, wide receivers Camden Benjamin and Braylon Presley, guard Tautai Leo Marks, guard Walter Youngbear, center Ray Burnett, edge rusher Owen Ostrowski, corners Xavier Lanier and DeMarco Jones, and safety Dane Hodge. Transfers in for Tulsa here. Quarterback Cooper Legis from Utah State. Wide receiver Jack Wright from North Dakota. Wide receiver Jeremiah Ballard from UTEP. Freshman wide receiver Corey Smith. Wide receiver Zion Steptoe from Purdue. Offensive tackle Caden Stanton from New Mexico State. Guard Jacob Waller from SMU. Defensive tackle Joe Yelly from Iowa Western Community College. Defensive tackle Amaya Williams from Angelo State. Edge rusher Miles Jackson from Indiana. Linebacker Gavin Potter from Arkansas State. Linebacker Zach Marchicelli from TCU. Linebacker Chris Thompson from USC. Linebacker Stockton Ryan from Oklahoma Baptist. And freshman kicker Troop O'Neal. All right, Tulsa, 4-8 last year, 2-6 in conference, finished 12th, third to last. And this year, at home against Northwestern State on a Thursday, they win that one. At Arkansas State, I think they lose to get to 1-2. At home against Oklahoma State is a 1-2 start. At Louisiana Tech, I think that's another tough one. But I'm going to give them the win. To get to 2-2 in non-conference play. At North Texas, they lose, get to 2-3. At home against Army, they win to get to 3-3 into the Week 7 bye. At Temple, it's a tough game, but I think they can win that one 4-3. At home against UTSA to get to 4-4. At UAB, 4-5. Week 11 bye. At home against ECU on a Thursday night, 5-5. At USF, 5-6. At home against FAU, 5-7. So an improvement, but they do lose out on a bowl game. Conference wins coming against Army, Temple, and ECU. So 3-5 in conference. An improvement just short of a bowl game, though. For the Golden Hurricanes. Let's go to the Temple Owls, the third owl in the conference here. It's crazy how many owl mascots are in one conference. 3-9 last year, 1-7 in conference, finished second to last in 13th place. Quarterback EJ Warner went to Rice. Quarterback Quincy Patterson is gone. Running back Darvin Hubbard went to Northern Arizona. Running back Edward Sadie went to Gardner-Webb. Wide receiver Ahmad Anderson Jr. is gone. Tight end David Martin Robinson is on the Titans. Tight end Jordan Smith is gone. Linebacker Jordan McGee drafted by the Commanders. Linebacker Yvandy Rigby is on the Ravens. Linebacker Jacob Hollins is gone. Defensive back Dominic Hill went to Liberty. Defensive back Jalen McMurray went to Tennessee. Safety Tywin Francis is gone. Safety Alex Odom is currently in the transfer portal. And kicker Camden Price is gone as well. Not a ton of production returning for Temple. Running back Jaquez Smith. Wide receiver Dante Wright. Wide receiver Zay Baines. Guard Wisdom Quarshie. Edge rushers DeJuan Black and Trey Thomas. A lot of guys coming in, though, for the Owls. Quarterback Evan Simon from Rutgers. Running back Antwain Littleton from Maryland. I love that guy. He's going to be good for Temple this year. Wide receiver Antonio Jones from Georgia. Offensive tackle Linus Lindbergh from College of the Canyons. Center Grayson Maines from South Carolina. Defensive tackle Latrell Jean from FAU. Defensive tackle Colin Vaughn from Limestone. Edge rusher Cameron Stewart from Rutgers. Edge rusher Sekou Chroma from Monroe College. Linebacker Eric Stewart from Foothill College. Linebacker Taekwon King from ECU. Linebacker Tyler Lepolo from City College of San Francisco. Corner Torrey Richardson from UTEP. Corner Jalen Lewis from Arkansas. Corner Jamel Johnson from Charleston Southern. Safety Andreas Keaton from West Carolina. Safety Javier Morton from Nebraska, safety Lewis Fry from Northern Illinois, and kicker Maddox Trujillo from Austin P. So I do think Temple's going to be a little bit better. Let's see what their schedule is, though. At Oklahoma on a Friday, that is a very difficult game. They're going to lose that one. At Navy, I think I had Navy winning that one just because it's in Annapolis. So 0-2 at home against Coastal Carolina, 0-3 at home against Utah State. They'll squeak one out against Utah State, I think, potentially. So let's go 1-3 at home against Army on a Thursday. Army, I don't think is that good. So 2-3 because it's on a Thursday night. So 2-3 at UConn. They're going to lose 2-4 going into the week 7 bye. At home against Tulsa, I have them winning that one. I had them lose 2-5 on that. At ECU, it's a road game, so 2-6 into the week 10 bye. At Tulane, 2-7. At home against FAU, 2-8. At UTSA on a Friday night, 2-9. And at home against North Texas, 2-10. So, yeah, maybe not so good. It's a difficult schedule. It is. I think they can win some of their non-conference. The Navy game, I think, is the one that they can win. Coastal's not as good as what they were in the past with some new players there. So I think they could possibly win that one because it's in Philly. Utah State, I think they definitely have a good chance as well. And the other one is the Tulsa game. I think Tulsa, they could win that one. They could win against East Carolina as well. So, yeah, there's some games that Temple could get potentially. I have them 1-7 in conference. Yeah. Yeah, I think I have 1-7 in conference because I had them upsetting Utah State. So 2-10, 1-7 in conference for the Temple Owls on my front. All right, let's get to the final couple teams here in the American. Our guy Danny says at least five wins for Temple. Temple's underrated. Yeah, I don't know, Danny. We'll see. I don't like the schedule for Temple. And the quarterback situation's kind of scary with Evan Simon as well. But let's get to the Pirates, the East Carolina Pirates. 2-10 last year, 1-7 in conference, finished last in the American. Quarterback Alex Flynn is gone. Quarterback Mason Garcia went to Austin P. Wide receiver Jalen Johnson is on the Chargers. Wide receiver Josiah Hatfield is gone. Tight end Shane Calhoun went to Texas A&M. Linebacker BJ Davis is gone. Linebacker Taylor Jackson went to Liberty. And safety Julius Wood is on the Cowboys. Returning for the Pirates, running backs Rajai Harris and Javius Bond. Wide receivers Chase Sowell and Jari Patterson. Offensive tackles Parker Moore and Hampton Ergel. Center Dustin Hill. Defensive tackle Deontay Johnson. Edge rusher Chad Stevens. Linebacker Mike Edwards III. Safety Siobhan Revel Jr. Punter Luke Larson. And kicker Andrew Conrad. Influx for ECU, quarterback Jake Garcia from Missouri, quarterback Caton Hauser from Michigan State, wide receiver Anthony Smith from NC State, wide receiver Winston Wright Jr. from Florida State. I love that. He's going to be awesome for ECU. Tight end Casey Kelly from Oregon, offensive tackle Jason Tarpe from Lackawanna College, baby, Poconos there. Guard Darius Bell from Maine, guard Carson Jones from Houston, defensive tackle Jaden McKenzie from Ohio State, edge rusher Raheem Craig from Louisville, linebacker Damian Wilson from Missouri, corner Andrew Wilson Lamp from West Virginia, and safety Gavin Gibson from Maryland. All right, for ECU here, At home against Norfolk State, they win. At Old Dominion, I think they lose. Ricky Ronnie's team's going to be pretty decent this year. At home against Appalachian State, they lose. At Liberty, they lose as well. So 1-3 non-conference. At home against UTSA is a 1-4 start. At Charlotte, I like the 49ers over the Pirates. It's going to be a better game than what it has been in the past, but I think Charlotte squeaks one out. So it's a 1-5 start for ECU. At Army, it's a road game. Let's go 1-6. At home against Temple, they do win that one to get to 2-6 into the second bye week 10. Then it's a tough one. At home against FAU on a Thursday, they lose that one to get to 2-7. At Tulsa on a back-to-back Thursday games, 2-8. At North Texas, 2-9, and then at home against Navy, 2-10. Once again for ECU, and I think it is a 1-win conference slate, just the Temple game for ECU. Yeah. All right. Moving to the newcomer for Army. 6-6 last year, finished second in the FBS Independents. It's, again, military academies are tough. Military academy is tough. They quarterback Champ Harris went to Trinity Valley Community College. Wide receiver Isaiah Alston went to Iowa State. Linebacker Leo Lowen is gone. Linebacker Jimmy Charlo is on the Jets. Linebacker Jackson Powell is gone, as is defensive back Quindrellin Hammonds, defensive back Jabari Moore, defensive back Bo Nicholas Paul, and kicker Quinn Moretsky. Returning for the Black Knights, quarterback Bryson Daly, running back Kanye Udo, running back Hayden Reed, wide receivers Noah Short, Casey Reynolds, Toby Olawale, offensive tackles Jordan Law, David Hoyt, guards Lucas Scott and Will Jeffcoat, linebacker Caleb Fortner, and safety Max DiDomenico, which I really like that guy. But no transfers in. Like I said, military academies really can't. So it makes it tough. Let's get to the schedule here for Army. At home against Lehigh on a Friday. They win that one. At FAU, they lose, get to 1-1 into the early first of 3 byes for Army. At home against Rice, they lose 1-2. At Temple, they lose 1-3 on a Thursday night. At Tulsa, 1-4. At home against UAB, 1-5. 2-5 though. They beat ECU at home to get to the second bye. At home against Air Force, 2-6. At North Texas, 2-7 into the third bye, week 12. At Notre Dame, 2-8. At home against UTSA, 2-9 conference championship week, and then at home against Navy, 2-10. Man, I just don't believe in Army this year. They're going to be better than that. They always are, but I just don't believe in them. Sorry. Go Navy, beat Army. And in conference play, the Navy game doesn't count, so their only win is the ECU game, 1-7. I'm mean. I am mean today on some of these teams. All right, let's go to the Sun Belt preview here. And this is where the Fun Belt begins. Jimmy's Texas State Bobcats are in this one. So let's get to it. First, the 14 teams, starting with the defending Sun Belt champs, Troy Trojans, 11-3, 8-1 in conference last year. Quarterback Gunnar Watson is on the Bills. Running back Kimani Vidal, drafted by the Chargers. Running back Asa Martin is gone. Wide receiver Jabray Barber went to Texas A&M. Wide receiver Deshaun Stoudemire is gone. Defensive lineman TJ Jackson went to West Virginia. Edge rusher Javon Solomon is on the Bills. Edge rusher Richard Jibunor is gone. Linebacker Jaden McDonald went to UConn. Corner Reddy Stewart is on the Bears. Safety Del Pettis is on the Patriots. And safety Urshad Davis is gone as well. Returning for the Trojans, though, running back Damian Taylor, wide receiver Chris Lewis, wide receiver Devontae Ross, offensive tackle Tavon Matthews, guard Daniel King, center Eli Russ, linebacker Jordan Stringer, punter Robert Cole, and kicker Scott Taylor Renfro. New head coach, that means a lot of transfers. Head coach Gerard Parker comes in from being the Notre Dame offensive coordinator the last couple of seasons. They got running back Gerald Green from East Carolina, wide receiver Zariah Beeson from Hutchinson Community College, offensive tackle Zach Bowden from Iowa Western Community College, guard Zarian Hudson from Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, defensive tackle Cheek Kaba from Iowa Western Community College, edge rusher Jamal Williams from Cincinnati, edge rusher Tyler Geary from Monmouth, linebacker Jordan Perry from Kansas State, linebacker Brendan Jackson from Gardner-Webb, corner Trent Henry from Grambling, corner Samaj James from Butler Community College, corner Jaquarius Thomas from Shorter, safety Cecil Powell from NC State, and safety Devin Lafayette from Northern Illinois. So what I'm seeing is a lot of good defensive players coming in. But the offense is concerning, really. The production lost with Watson and Vidal specifically. Barber is an excellent receiver as well. So let's see. Maybe I overhyped Troy when I had him beating who they play early on in the one. Yeah, Memphis. I think I had him beating Memphis. Or no, I think I had Memphis winning that one. Yeah. So, yeah, I could see them beating Memphis. Or Memphis beating Troy, just based off what they lost. At home against Nevada, I'm going to have them win that one. At Memphis, I have them losing 1-1. At Iowa, 1-2. At home against Florida A&M to get to 2-2 in non-conference play. At home against ULM, I still think they're better than UL Monroe. So get to 3-2. At home against Texas State on a Thursday. I like Texas State. I think they're the better team. 3-3 into the Week 7 bye. At South Alabama on a Tuesday night. Yeah, the Sun Belt plays on Tuesdays this year, people. Weird schedule coming off. It's not a full bye week, so 3-4 at Arkansas State. I think they're still better than the Red Wolves. 4-4 at home against Coastal Carolina. I think Coastal's a little bit worse than they were, so 5-4 there. Into the second bye week, 11 at Georgia Southern. That's a tough one to go to Statesboro. So I'm going to give them 5-5 at Louisiana, 5-6, and then they come back and win against Southern Miss at home, 6-6. Big step down, but they lost one of the best quarterbacks in the group of five. So in Gunnar Watson. And so that's a big blow. Conference-wise, let's see. They beat ULM. They beat Arkansas State. They beat Coastal. And they beat Southern Miss. So 4-4 conference record. They're going bowling, though, in Gerard Parker's first year, which is a plus. Big plus there. On to Appalachian State, 9-5 last year, 6-3 in conference, second in the East because the Sun Belt still has divisions. So they finished second in the East. However, they got to go to the Sun Belt championship game because James Madison was not eligible, being in their second year of FBS play. They just were not eligible per Sun Belt and NCAA regulations, which I still think is stupid because JMU was very good last year and App State got killed in the Sun Belt championship game. Anyways, rant over. Losses for the Mountaineers. Running back Nate Noel went to Missouri. Wide receiver Deshaun Davis is in the transfer portal. Guard Bucky Williams is on the Chargers. Linebacker Andrew Parker Jr. is on the Jags. Corner Tyreek Funderburk is on the Bucks. Safety Nick Ross and safety EJ Jackson are both gone as well. App State does have a lot of players returning. Quarterback Joey Aguilar, running backs Kanye Roberts, Mikel Haywood. Wide receivers Caden Robinson, Christian Horn, Mekhi Jackson, Dalton Stroman. Offensive tackles Thornton Gentry and Jack Murphy. Defensive tackle Santana Hopper. Defensive end Michael Fletcher. Edge rusher Nate Johnson. Linebacker Caden Sullivan. Corner Ethan Johnson. Safety Jordan Favors and kicker Michael Hughes. Transfers in for App State, not a ton, but quarterback Charles Wright comes in from Texas. Wide receiver Blake Hoban from Yuba College. Guard Thomas Schrader from Florida State. Center Michael Marotta from Valdosta State. Corner Seth Robertson from Georgia Southern. Corner Avarian Cole from NCAA and North Carolina A&T. Corner Jason Chambers from NC Central. Safety Miles Farmer from Syracuse. So what we got for Appalachian State this year? At home versus East Tennessee State, they win. At Clemson, they lose, get the 1-1. At East Carolina, they win that one, 2-1. At home versus South Alabama on a Thursday. Boone, North Carolina on a Thursday night. Tough place. So 3-1. At home against Liberty. Again, it's at home. Boone's a tough place to play. So 4-1 there. At Marshall. Marshall's a tough team. They lost a lot. But I'll give App the win. 5-1 there. At Louisiana, though, is where I'm going to have the train stop and get to 5-2 going into the week 8 bye. It's late first bye there, week 8. So 5-2. At home against Georgia State, they get to 6-2. At home against Old Dominion, I think Old Dominion goes in and upsets them for some odd reason. Old Dominion, 5-3 there at Coastal Carolina on a Thursday night. That's tough on the teal turf, but I think App beats them to get to 6-3. Or 7-3. Clemson, Marshall, or Clemson, Louisiana, and Old Dominion. Yeah. 7-3 going into the second bye there. At home against James Madison, I think they win that one, 8-3. And at Georgia Southern, it's a tough game in Statesboro, but I think App State's better. So 9-3 for App State. And their losses are to, let's see, Louisiana and Old Dominion. So 6-2 in conference. It's pretty good play, pretty good record. Could get them into the Sun Belt Championship game again. Let's go to the Dukes. James Madison, 11-2, 7-1 in conference. Finished first in the East, like I said. Were ineligible to play in a bowl, or actually, they did play in a bowl game. They were ineligible to play in the Sun Belt Championship game. However, losses a ton because they lost their head coach. Kurt Signetti went to Indiana. Quarterback Jordan McLeod went to Texas State. Running back Kalen Black went to Indiana, as did running back Tyson Walton and wide receiver Elijah Surratt. Wide receiver Reggie Brown is on the Chiefs. Wide receiver Phoenix Sproles is gone. Tight end Zach Horton went to Indiana, as did defensive lineman James Carpenter and defensive lineman Mikhail Kamara. Edge rusher Jalen Green is gone. Edge rusher Jamari Croma is on the Bears. 3 more guys went to Indiana. Linebacker Aiden Fisher, linebacker Jalen Walker, and defensive back D'Angelo Pons. Safety Francis Meehan is on the coaching staff now at Indiana. And kicker Camden Wise is also gone. So go to Indiana to see all the players from JMU last year. Returning, not a ton because they lost all those guys in the transfer portal with Kurt Signetti. Offensive tackle Tyshawn Wyatt, guard Cole Potts, center Tanner Morris, safety Jacob Thomas, and punter Ryan Hansen. That's it. That is it. But new coach, new players. Head coach Bob Chesney comes in from being the head coach at Holy Cross. He got a lot of really good players. Quarterback Dylan Morris comes in from Washington. Running back Ayo Adeyi from North Texas. Running back George Pettaway from North Carolina. Wide receiver Breon Penny from San Diego State. Wide receiver Cam Ross from UConn. Freshman wide receiver Dylan Williams. Offensive tackle Pat McCurtry from Holy Cross. Offensive tackle Luke Potma from Georgetown. Offensive tackle Jesse Ramil from St. Francis. Guard Quincy Jenkins from Campbell. Edge rusher Eric O'Neill from Long Island. Edge rusher Lloyd Summerall III from USF. Edge rusher Kyrie Mans from Colorado. Defensive tackle Terry Lockett Jr. from Syracuse. Defensive tackle Chris Fitzgerald from Youngstown State. Linebacker Jacob Dobbs from Holy Cross. Linebacker Raymond Scott from Fresno State. Corner Terrence Spence from Holy Cross. Corner Ja'Kai Young from Gardner-Webb. Corner Jordan Taylor from Tuscaloosa. Safety Ray Williams from Howard. Safety Chris Sheeran from UConn. Freshman safety Chase Reagan. Kicker Noah Ruelas from UConn. And kicker Cristiano Rosa from Central Connecticut State. I like a lot of these players that they got. The running back, Adai, the quarterback, Morris, I think are going to be good. McCurtry, the tackle from Holy Cross. And then they got a ton of players on the defensive side of the ball as well. So what do we got in store for JMU here? At Charlotte, they win that one week 1. At home against Gardner-Webb, they win to get to 2-0 into an early week 3 bye. At North Carolina, they lose, get to 2-1. At home against Ball State, I think they're still good enough to beat the MAC. So 3-1. At UL Monroe, 4-1. At home against Coastal Carolina on a Thursday night, 5-1. At Georgia Southern, I think they go to Statesboro and lose, 5-2. At home against Southern Miss, 6-2 into the week 10 bye. At home against Georgia State, they lost a lot of production with the Panthers, so 7-2 there. At Old Dominion, I just like ODU this year, 7-3. At App, 7-4, and then at home against Marshall, 8-4 for the Dukes this year. And let's see, losses in conference, I think it's 3. ODU, App, both on the road, and then Georgia Southern on the road as well. So, yeah, 5-3 in conference for new head coach Bob Chesney in year 1. All right, let's go to Coastal Carolina. They lost a lot of production as well. The Chanticleers, 8-5 last year, 5-3 in conference, 3rd place finished in the Eastern Division. Quarterback Grayson McCall went to NC State. Quarterback Jarrett Guest went to Bryant. Running back C.J. Beasley went to Georgia State. Wide receiver Sam Pinckney is on the Panthers. Wide receiver Jared Brown went to South Carolina. Defensive end Michael Mason is on the Chargers. Linebacker J.T. Killen went to Eastern Michigan. Corner Keontae Lusk is gone. And safety Clayton Isbell is on the Panthers as well. Returning for the Shants, quarterback Ethan Vasco. Running back Braden Bennett. Wide receivers Jamison Tucker and Kyrie Duplessis. Tight end Kendall Carr. Offensive tackle Zavon Lindsay. Guard Zach Elam. Center Thomas Johnson. Defensive end Will Whitson. Linebacker Shane Bruce. Corners Juan Powell and Matthew McDoom. Punter Emil Sebafundi. And kickers Cade Hensley and Liam Gray. Transfers in. Quarterback Noah Kim from Michigan State. Wide receiver Malik Mega from Penn State. Wide receiver Seneca McKee from UNLV. Wide receiver Cameron Wright from East Mississippi Community College. Guard Heston Edwards from UT Permian Basin. Defensive tackle Nywan Barber from South Carolina State. Defensive tackle Sawyer Gorham Welch from Texas. Defensive tackle Diamante Diggs from Youngstown State. Linebacker Barry Brown from Tiffin. Corner Quan Peterson from Syracuse. And safety A.J. Williams from Wake Forest. So can Noah Kim be the guy? That's what the big question is for the Chanticleers this year. At Jacksonville State, tough test on a Thursday night. Start off. I'm going to give them the win, though. It's a tough game, but I think they can win that one. At home against William and Mary, they win to get to 2-0. They win at Temple to get to 3-0. And then at home against Virginia, UVA is not that good, but I'm going to have them lose that one, 3-1. Into the week 5 bye. At home against Old Dominion, I just think ODU is going to win this year. So 3-2 at JMU on a Thursday, 3-3. At home against Louisiana. Louisiana is a great team. So 3-4. into the week 9 bye at Troy, 3-5 at home against Appalachian State on a Thursday, 3-6 at Marshall. That's a very difficult game, but I'll give them the win. 4-6 at home against Georgia Southern, 5-6, and then at Georgia State, I want the Shots to go bowling, so 6-6. And we are going, let's see, we got wins against, well, we have 3-1 non-conference, so we only have 3 conference wins. They are against the last 3 teams there: Marshall, Georgia Southern, and Georgia State. 3-5 in conference. Tough year for Coastal Carolina. Grayson McCall loss is a big one. And Noah Kim didn't really do a great job at Michigan State, so I don't know. We'll see. Sam Pinckney, big loss as well to the league. All right, let's go to the team that I think is a sleeper this year in the Sun Belt, which is Old Dominion. Ricky Ronnie, another great year. Losses. They did lose a lot, but 6-7 last year, 5-3 in conference, finished 4th in the East. Quarterback Jack Shields went to Buffalo. Running back Kadarius Callaway went to Cal. Running back Keyshawn Wicks is in the transfer portal. Wide receiver Raymello Murphy went to Arizona. Wide receiver Javon Harvey went to Duke. Wide receiver Amarian Granger is currently in the transfer portal. Linebacker Wayne Matthews III went to Michigan State. Corner Lamarian James went to TCU. Corner Nolan Johnson is gone. Defensive back Terry Jones Jr. went to Indiana, as did defensive back Sean Asbury II. Defensive back Taj Ra'el went to Memphis. And returning, though, for the Monarchs, quarterback Grant Wilson, wide receiver Kelby Williams, wide receiver Isaiah Page, offensive tackle Santana Saunders, guards Stephen Dubose-Bourne and Elijah Hoskin, nose tackle Denzel Lowry, linebacker Jason Henderson, who is a monster, I'll tell you, 160 tackles, I think, last year, corner Rashid Reason, safety Marcus Knight, and kicker Ethan Sanchez. They did a good job in the transfer portal. Quarterback Emmett Moorhead comes in from Boston College. Love getting running back Aaron Young from Rutgers. Wide receiver Deontay Vines from Iowa. Tight end Pat Conroy from Merrimack. Offensive tackle Rick Moore from Boise State. Guard Colin Heinrich from Georgia State. Center Zach Barlev from Illinois. Defensive end Ricardo Williams Jr. from Georgia State. Corner Angelo Rankin Jr. from Richmond. Corner Will Jones II from USF. Corner Kadrian Miles from Virginia State. Patrick Smith-Young from North Texas. Safety Jaron Manning from Copiah Lincoln Community College. And punter Seamus Hall from Sioux Falls. So I like the transfers in for ODU. And let's see how I like the schedule, which I think it's a decent one. But at South Carolina, they lose that one. They beat ECU, though, to get to 1-1. At home against Virginia Tech, that's a tough one. Hokies are decent this year. So 1-2. Bye week at Bowling Green. I think they can win that one. 3 straight road games, which is very difficult. But at Bowling Green, 2-2 in non-conference. Let's go at Coastal Carolina, 3-2. At Georgia State, that is a difficult game, but I think they can win that one to sweep the road trip there. So 4-3. 5-2, actually. 5-2. They only added the SC and the VT losses there. 4-2. 5-2 going into the Texas State game. I just love Texas State. 5-3 at home against Texas State. At home against Georgia Southern on Thursday. Just because it's on a Thursday night, it's weird. I'm going to give them 6-3 there. At Appalachian State, 6-4. Week 11 bye at home against James Madison, 7-4 or 7-3. No, 6-4. Yeah, 6-4. And then at home against Marshall, 7-4. At Arkansas State, 8-4. 8-4 for Ricky Ronnie's squad here this year. And it is a 6-2 conference slate. Texas State, Appalachian State, the only two losses. So improvement for ODU and a record worthy of a potential Sun Belt championship berth for Ricky Ronnie's squad. I'm telling you, I like the Monarchs this year. I also like the Texas State Bobcats. I liked them last year, and they were good, 8-5, 4-4 in conference play, finished second in the West. And with Troy having a new head coach, I think the division might be there for the taking for GJ Kinney and squad. So losses for the Bobcats. Quarterback TJ Finley went to Western Kentucky. Quarterback Malik Hornsby went to Arkansas State. Running back Denario Davenport went to Louisiana Tech. Wide receiver Ashton Hawkins to Baylor. Linebacker Brian Holloway is gone. Linebacker Dan Foster Jr. went to Louisville. Corner Caleb Ford Dement is on the Patriots. Safety Sean Holton is gone as well. But they have a good amount returning, especially at the skill positions. Running back Ismail Mahdi. Wide receivers Joey Hobart, Cole Wilson, and Drew Donnelly. Off the tackles Nash Jones, Himeto Obigbo. Guard Dorian Strawn. Center Chase Todd. Defensive tackle Tavian Coleman. Edge rushers Ben Bell and Devin Wright. Corner Joshua Eaton. Safety Caleb Culp. Punter David Nunez. And kicker Mason Shipley. Ben Bell is an absolute beast. So is Joey Herbert at the wide receiver position. So with the addition of the transfers, which I think was a very good class, quarterback Jordan McLeod comes in from James Madison. Quarterback RJ Martinez from Baylor. Wide receiver Jaden Williams from Boston College. Wide receiver Bo Sparks from Utah Tech. Tight end Blake Smith from Oklahoma. Guard Telek Lockett from UL Monroe. Defensive tackle Ami Palisi Lange Jr. from Houston. Defensive tackle Alex Merritt from Eastern Michigan. Edge rusher Stephen Parker from Incarnate Word. Linebacker Manny Nunnery from Florida. Linebacker Traylon Payne from Houston. Linebacker Max Harris from UL Monroe. Linebacker James Neal from UTEP. Corner Justin Harris from Cincinnati. And corner Trez Moore from UTEP as well. So I'm telling you, I like this Texas State team this year, and I think they got a shot at the Sun Belt Championship game with how the West has played out this offseason. So let's look at the schedule. At home against Lamar, they win that one. At home against UTSA, I had them upsetting UTSA. So 2-0. At home against Arizona State on a Thursday night. Let's beat the Sun Devils 3-0. Bye week 4. At Sam Houston State 4-0. At Troy on a Thursday. I had Troy going 6-6, so they win 5-0 here for Texas State. At home against Arkansas State, 6-0. At Old Dominion, I had them beating Old Dominion, so 7-0. 7-0 into the second bye week. At home against Louisiana, it's on a Tuesday night though, so 8-0 because it's a weird game. At UL Monroe, 9-0. At home against Southern Miss, 10-0. At home against Georgia State, 11-0. And their lone loss is at South Alabama, the last game of the regular season, 11-1. I just think this schedule sets up super well for Texas State. They get UTSA at home. They get Louisiana at home. Their toughest games, they got to go to Troy and to Old Dominion and to South Alabama. The Arizona State game is one that could potentially be a problem as well, but it's on a Thursday night. It's a weird scheduled game. So 11-1, 7-1 in conference. GJ Kinney is a hell of a coach. I think the addition of Jordan McLeod, who had an outstanding season at JMU last year, he's going to love playing in this GJ Kinney offense. And they have dudes at skill positions. So I really like Texas State and Jimmy's Bobcats this year. Let's go to South Alabama, team that I had beating Texas State at the end of the year. It's on a Friday game as well, so that's kind of weird. That's why I have South Alabama winning that one. 7-6 last year, 4-4, third in the West. Quarterback Carter Bradley is on the Raiders. Quarterback Desmond Trotter is gone, as is running back LaDamian Webb. Wide receiver Colin Lacey went to Louisville. Tight end Lincoln Sefcik is on the Jets. Linebacker Quentin Wilfon and linebacker James Miller are gone. Linebacker Trey Kaiser is on the Jags. Linebacker Khalil Jacobs went to Missouri. Defensive back Marquise Robinson went to Arkansas. And kicker Diego Guajardo is gone as well. The Jaguars return quarterback Gio Lopez, running back Kentrell Bullock and Braylon McReynolds, wide receivers Jamal Pritchett and Javon Ivory, tight end DJ Thomas Jones, offensive tackle Jordan Davis, guard Reed Buys, corner Ricky Fletcher, safety Jaden Voisin, and punter Jack Martin. New head coach for South Alabama. It is Major Applewhite, the former Houston Cougar head coach. He had been the South Alabama offensive coordinator, so familiarity abound with the Jaguars this year, just elevating Applewhite to the head coaching position. Wide receiver Tylen Campbell comes in from North Alabama. Tight end Andrew Bent from Bowling Green. Guard Seth Russo from East Mississippi Community College. Center Malachi Preciado from Purdue. Edge rusher Jalen Durgan from East Mississippi Community College. Edge rusher Akeel Washington from Liberty. Corner Jordan Scruggs from Hutchinson Community College. Safety Lardarius Webb Jr. from Oklahoma State. Kicker Lath Marjan from ECU, and freshman kicker Davis Little as well. So let's see. I like Major Applewhite's players. The experience of Carter Bradley is one that is going to hurt, but they do have Gio Lopez, who played a little bit last year. So let's see what the schedule looks like. At home against North Texas, they win that one. Week 1 at Ohio. The Bobcats always seem to be good, so I'm going to have them lose that one, 1-1. At home against Northwestern State on a Thursday night, they win that one. At Appalachian State on a Thursday, lose to get to 2-2. At LSU, 2-3. At Arkansas State, I think they're still better than the Red Wolves, so 3-3 into the Week 7 bye. At home against Troy on a Tuesday night, it's a weird scheduled game, so 4-3 there. At home against ULM, 5-3. At home against Georgia Southern, 6-3 into the Week 11 bye. At Louisiana, 6-4. At Southern Miss, I think they can squeak that one out. 7-4, and then at home against Texas State on a Friday to end it. 8-4 for Major Applewhite's first year. The Jaguars looking good, and conference losses to App State, and Louisiana, 6-2. So that is the difference. That late loss to Louisiana is the difference between them going to the Sun Belt Championship game over Texas State, because they have the head-to-head. But 8-4, still a solid season, and they'll get a good bowl. Let's go to the Red Wolves. Arkansas State, 6-7 last year, 4-4 in conference, finished 4th in the West. Quarterback JT Shrout is gone. Quarterback Jackson Daly went to Northern Iowa. Wide receiver Jeff Foreman is on the Raiders. Edge rusher Kieron Crawford went to Auburn. Linebacker Malik Straker is on the Saskatchewan Roughriders in the CFL. Linebacker Javante Mackey went to Memphis. Corner Sammy Johnson is gone. Corner Leon Jones is on the Bears. And kicker Dominic Zavada went to Michigan. Returning, a lot of guys coming back for Arkansas State. Quarterback Jalen Rayner, running backs Jaquez Cross and Zach Wallace, wide receivers Corey Rucker, Courtney Jackson, Regan Ely, and Adam Jones, offensive tackles Noah Smith and Mykylin Thomas, guard Makai Butler, center Jacob Bayer, defensive tackle Nate Marty, linebacker Charles Willikis, safety Trevian Thomas, and kicker Aiden Ellison. And they got some good players in the portal this year. Quarterback Timmy McLean from UCF, freshman quarterback Josh Flowers, wide receiver Malik Hornsby from Texas State, guard EJ Ndoma Ogar from Missouri, defense tackle Micaiah Overton from Texas A&M, defense tackle Lucas Banks from Mississippi Valley State, edge rusher Noah Collins from Georgia Tech, edge rusher Kamari Stevens from Jacksonville State, edge rusher Brian Whitehead from Liberty, linebacker Chris Pearson from Houston, linebacker Kyle Taylor from Tarleton State, corner Jordan Mahoney from UMass, and punter Brooke Honoré from Texas Tech. So let's see what we think about Arkansas State and the schedule. Can they improve from last year? At home versus Central Arkansas, they win that one. At home versus Tulsa to get to 2-0. At Michigan and at Iowa State, they lose 2-2 in non-conference play into the Week 5 bye. At home against South Alabama, they lose 2-3. At Texas State is 2-4. At Southern Miss, that's a tough road game. I'm going to give it to them, though, to get to 3-4. At home against Troy, 3-5. Week 10 bye. At Louisiana, they lose to get to 3-6. At Georgia State, 3-7. At home against UL Monroe. Actually, no, I'll give them 4-6 on the Georgia State. At home against UL Monroe, 5-6. However, at home against Old Dominion, they lose 5-7 this year for Arkansas State. And 3-5 in conference, I believe. They beat Southern Miss, Georgia State, and UL Monroe. All right, speaking of Georgia State, let's go to the Panthers. 7-6 last year, 3-5 in conference, finished 5th in the East. They lost quarterback Darren Granger. He is on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in the CFL. Running back Marcus Carroll went to Missouri. Wide receiver Robert Lewis to Auburn. Wide receiver Jakari Carter is gone. Offensive tackle Travis Glover, drafted by the Packers. Defensive lineman Javon Dennis went to Memphis. Linebacker John Trey Hunter is on the Patriots. Linebacker Jordan Veneziali is gone. Corner Brykees Brown went to Boston College. And safety Tyge Leach is gone as well. Returning, running back Freddie Brock, wide receivers Tyleek Williams and Kadarius Thompson, offensive tackle Ben Chukwumu, guard Trevor Timmons, edge rusher Kevin Swint, linebacker Justin Abraham, corner Gavin Pringle, safety Jeremiah Johnson, punter Cade Loggins, and kicker Liam Rickman. They have a new head coach in Atlanta at Georgia State. It is former Georgia run game coordinator and running backs coach Del McGee. So he got some guys in the portal. Quarterback Zach Gibson comes in from Georgia Tech. Quarterback DJ Riles from Mid-Tennessee. Quarterback Christian Veilleux from Pittsburgh. Running back CJ Beasley from Coastal Carolina. Running back Savion Wilkerson from Colorado. Wide receiver Yusuf Terry from USF. Offensive tackle Kyrick Mason from Monmouth. Guard Joshua Black from Louisville. Defensive end Katie McDaniel from UCF. Defensive end Victwan Brown from Louisville. Linebacker Javen Hall from Marshall. Corner Kenyatta Watson II from Georgia Tech. Corner Jiron Gilmore from Tennessee Tech. And safety Derek Maxey III from Coastal Carolina. So can they gel in Del McGee's first year at the quarterback position? Zach Gibson, I believe, is the starter at Georgia Tech. He gets to face his whole team the first week. I like Brent Key's squad. They lose that one to get to 0-1. They beat Chattanooga, though. Week 2, get to 1-1 at home against Vanderbilt. Lose to get to 1-2 going into the Week 4 bye. At home against Georgia Southern. Yeah, I'll give them that one. 2-2. Second bye Week 6. So they are done. They have to play a ton. They have to play 8 straight games in the year. At home against Old Dominion, they lose 2-3. At Marshall, it's on a Thursday night, but I think they can beat Marshall 3-3. At Appalachian State, 3-4. At UConn on a Friday night, 3-5. At JMU, 3-6. At home against Arkansas State, they win to get to 4-6. At Texas State, though, they lose 4-7. And then at home against Coastal Carolina, they win 5-7 this year for the Georgia State Panthers. And I think it's 3-5 in conference. They beat Coastal, Arkansas State, and Marshall. Or no, 4-4. Yeah, 4-4 in conference because they also beat Georgia Southern. Yeah, 1-3 non-conference slate. All right, rolling on to Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns here. 6-7 last year, 3-5 in conference, 5th place in the West. Losses: quarterback Zion Chris went to Houston. Running back Jacob Caboti is on the Saints. Wide receiver Peter LeBlanc is on the Bears. Tight end Neil Johnson is on the Rams. Offensive tackle Nathan Thomas, drafted by the Cowboys. Linebacker Jasper Williams is gone. Linebacker Kendra Gant went to Houston. Linebacker Tyler Guidry is gone as well. Returning a lot of production here for Louisiana. Quarterback Chandler Fields, quarterback Ben Wooldridge, running back Draylon Washington, wide receivers Jacob Bernard, Robert Williams, and Harvey Broussard. Offensive tackle George Jackson, guards AJ Gilly and Jax Harrington, center Landon Burton, defensive end Jordan Lawson, edge rusher Cameron Whitfield, linebacker Casey Osai, corners Keon Martin, Caleb Anderson, and Shadwell and Kuba the second, safeties Tyrone Lewis Jr., Tyree Skipper, and Jalen Clark, and kicker Kenneth Almendares. Just one transfer for Louisiana. It's defense tackle Fitzgerald West Jr. coming over from LSU. Louisiana is always a tough team, and I think they have some consistency at the quarterback position. So I think they should be competitive this year, go bowling at the very least, but we'll see with the schedule. Holds. At home against Grambling, week 1, they win. At Kennesaw State, they win. It gets 2-0 into the week 3 bye. They lose at home against Tulane, gets 2-1. At Wake Forest, they lose as well, 2-2. At Southern Miss, I think they're a better team, 3-2. At home against Appalachian State, I think they had them upsetting App State. So 4-2 there. At Coastal Carolina, 5-2. Week 9 bye. At Texas State, 5-3. That's on a Tuesday. At home against Arkansas State, 6-3. At home against South Alabama is 7-3. At home against Troy is 8-3. And then at UL Monroe, 9-3 for me for the Louisiana Raging Cajuns. And lone conference loss is Texas State's 7-1. Good schedule. Obviously, the big ones, Troy, South Alabama, I think are the ones that you could see. I could see them flipping. The App State game as well. Definitely could lose that one. But they're at home for those ones. And the Coastal Carolina is one road game that I would say potentially they could lose. Obviously, the ULM game, that's always competitive as the rivalry with the Louisiana schools. On to the Eagles, Georgia Southern, 6-7, 3-5 last year, 6th place in the East. Losses: quarterback Davis Bryn is gone. Wide receiver Caleb Hood is playing with the Hamilton Tiger Cats in the CFL. Wide receiver Dalen Cobb is gone, as is wide receiver Anthony Quealy. Head end JJ McAfee is gone, as is linebacker Kadri Jackson. Corner Shamar Bartholomew is on the Jets. Defensive back Demel Hickman is gone, and kicker Michael Lance went to USC. The Eagles are bringing back quarterback J.C. French, running backs Jalen White, O.J. Arnold, and David Mbadinga. Wide receiver Derwin Burgess Jr., offensive tackle Bryson Broadway, guard Pishawn Wembley, defensive tackle Elaj Fall, edge rusher Isaac Walker, linebacker Marcus Watson Trent, corner Mark Stampley II, safety Tyrell Davis, and safety TJ Smith. In the portal, they got quarterback Dexter Williams II from Indiana, wide receiver LV Bunkley Shelton from Oklahoma, tight end Tyler Fromm from Auburn, offensive tackle Kyle Frazier from Savannah State, guard Justin Kenyuk from North Carolina, linebacker Devon Hicks from Washington State, corner Chance Gamble, and corner DeAndre Morris from Kennesaw State, corner Dorian Smith from Northeast Mississippi Community College. Georgia Southern, I think they're going to be a tricky one. At home versus Boise State, that's a tough game to start out. They lose that one. They win at Nevada, though, 1-1. They beat South Carolina State at home to get to 2-1. At Ole Miss, they lose, get to 2-2 in non-conference. at Georgia State, 2-3. Week 6 bye. At home against Marshall, though, 3-3. At home against James Madison, 4-3. At Old Dominion on a Thursday, 4-4. At South Alabama, 4-5 into the Week 11 bye. At home against Troy, 5-5. At Coastal Carolina, I'm going to give them a loss there, I'm going to give them a win there, 6-5, and then home against Appalachian State, 6-6. 6-6 for me for Georgia Southern. And it is a 4-4 conference record, right around the lines of what they had last year. All right, on to the Herd, the Marshall Thundering Herd here, 6-7 last year, 3-5 in conference, finished last in the East. Quarterback Cam Fancher went to FAU. Running back Rasheen Ali drafted by the Ravens. Wide receiver Jaden Harrison went to Notre Dame. Wide receiver Caleb Coombs went to FAU. Wide receiver Caleb McMillan is gone. Offensive tackle Ethan Driscoll is on the Chiefs. Guard Dalton Tucker is on the Colts. Defensive lineman Sam Burton is gone. Edge rusher Elijah Alston went to Miami. Linebacker Elias Neal is on the Rams. Linebacker Steven Dix Jr. went to Arkansas. Linebacker Owen Porter is on the Vikings. Corner Micah Abraham drafted by the Colts. And defensive back Deani Hill went to Miami. Returning for Marshall, quarterback Cole Pennington, running back Ethan Payne, wide receiver DeMarcus Harris, wide receiver Chuck Montgomery, center Logan Osborne, edge rusher Michael Green, corner Josh Moten, safety J.J. Roberts, and kicker Reese Veerhoff. They did well in the transfer portal for sure. Quarterback Braylon Braxton comes in from Tulsa. Quarterback Mitch Griffiths from Wake Forest. Running back Jordan Houston from NC State. Wide receiver Christian Fitzpatrick from Michigan State. Wide receiver Braylon Brown from Ole Miss. Wide receiver Tyshawn Chapman from North Carolina. Wide receiver Carl Chester from Tulsa. Wide receiver Elijah Metcalf from Mid-Tennessee. Tight end Justin Holmes from Kent State. Offensive tackle Sean Marcus Adams from Navarro College. Offensive tackle Jeremy Jones from Tulsa. Guard Bryce Ramsey from Southern Miss. Defense tackle Jason Shuford from ECU. Edge rusher Jacarius Clayton from Mississippi State. Linebacker Ashton Heflin from Georgia Tech. Corner Isaiah Johnson from Arizona State. So for Marshall here, at home against Stony Brook, they win. At Virginia Tech, they lose into an early Week 3 bye. At Ohio State, they lose to get to 1-2. At home against Western Michigan, it's a tough team, but I'm gonna have them win that one. Get to 2-2 in non-conference. At home against App, they lose to get to 2-3. At Georgia Southern is a loss, 2-4. At home against Georgia State on a Thursday, 3-4. Bye week 9. At home against ULM, 4-4. At Southern Miss, 5-4. At home against Coastal Carolina. It's tough. I want to get Marshall to a bowl, but I think I had Coastal winning that one. I'm going to give them 6-4. At Old Dominion, they lose. At James Madison, they lose. 6-6 for Marshall here. And it was a 4-4 conference record. Let's go to the other Eagles in the conference. Southern Miss Eagles here. Quarterback Billy Wiles went to Appalachian State. Running back Frank Ford Jr. went to the Bills. Wide receiver Jacarius Caston is gone. Wide receiver Latrell Jones is on the Bucks. Defense tackle Josh Ratcliffe is gone. Linebacker Swayze Bozeman is on the Chiefs. Linebacker Hayes Maples and linebacker Josh Carr Jr. are gone, as is corner Markel McLaurin. And safety Jay Stanley is on the Colts. Returning for the Eagles, quarterback Ethan Crawford. Running backs Rodriguez Clark and Kenyon Clay and Chandler Pittman. Wide receiver Tyquelin Mims. Off the tackle Gabe Cavazos Jr. Center Drew Lawson. Linebacker Jaleel Clemens. Safety Dylan Lawrence. Safety MJ Daniels. Punter Bryce Lofton. And kicker Andrew Stein. They got some good players in the portal for Southern Miss. Quarterback Tate Rodemaker from Florida State. Wide receiver Larry Simmons from Ole Miss. wide receiver Dakota Thomas from Copiah Lincoln Community College, wide receiver Keyshawn Buckley from Garden City Community College, tight end Kyron Heath from Ole Miss, offensive tackle Greg Nunnery from Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, guard Zach Conti from Eastern Michigan, edge rusher Ryan Johnson from Akron, linebacker Trey Pinckney from Coastal Carolina, linebacker Desmond Baker from Western Kentucky, linebacker Jameer Lewis from Southwest Mississippi Community College, corner Braxton Myers from Purdue, and safety Jordan Johnson from Mississippi Delta Community College. So for Southern Miss, at Kentucky they lose. They win at home against Southeastern Louisiana though, to get to 1-1. At home against USF they lose, get to 1-2. At Jacksonville State, I think it's a tough game, but I think Rodemaker is good enough that they can win that one, so get to 2-2 in conference, in non-conference. By week 5 at home against Louisiana, 2-3. At ULM, that's a bottom feeder bowl right there, but they can win 3-3. At home against Arkansas State, they lose that one to get to 2-4, 2-5 at JMU, into the week 10 bye. At home against Marshall, 2-6. At Texas State, 2-7. Home against South Alabama, 2-8, and at Troy, it's 3-9 for Southern Miss. They have a tough schedule though, especially that 4-pack at the end is very difficult, and the non-conference is difficult. USF, Kentucky, Jacksonville State's I think is going to be a tough game, and then JMU on the road is also very difficult. So 3-9 and 1-7 conference record there. Just the lone win. Or no, I had them winning. Yeah, just the lone win against UL Monroe. Yeah. All right. Final team here, UL Monroe, the Warhawks. Quarterback Jaya Wright went to Sioux Falls in the IFL. Quarterback Blake Murphy is in the transfer portal. Running back Isaiah Woolard is gone. Wide receiver Tyrone Howell is playing with the Montreal Alouettes in the CFL. Wide receiver Darian Wiley went to Vanderbilt. Wide receiver Bugs Mortimer went to Western Michigan. Wide receiver Nai Davis is in the transfer portal. Tight end Nolan Quinlan is gone. Defensive lineman Aiden Huntington went to Tulane. Edge rusher Kennard Snyder went to Iowa State. Linebacker Max Harris went to Texas State. Linebacker Michael Baton went to Houston. Linebacker Jatarius Evans is gone. Defensive back A.J. Watts went to Memphis. And kicker Derek McCormick went to Indiana. Returning for the Warhawks, quarterback Hunter Herring, running backs Hunter Smith and Bennett Galloway, offensive tackle Sam Carson, guard Elijah Fisher, center Jay Mickle, corner David Godsey Jr., and kicker Luke Stagg. New head coach for UL Monroe, it's Bryant Vincent, was the New Mexico offensive coordinator coming in. And just one transfer to note, quarterback General Booty comes in from Oklahoma. So it's going to be a tough year for UL Monroe. At home against Jackson State on a Thursday, they win that one. They lose at home against UAB into a week 3 bye, and at Texas, at Troy, at home against James Madison, at home against Southern Miss, week 8 bye, at South Alabama, at Marshall, at home against Texas State, at Auburn, at Arkansas State, and at home against Louisiana. I just don't see it. I just do not see this roster competing. I have them a 1-11 record, 0-8 once again in conference play. It's a difficult schedule with a depleted roster for new head coach Brian Vincent, and he's going to have to upgrade that thing over the next couple of seasons to get ULM to be competitive once again. All right, last thing we're going to do here, a couple preseason games in between shows on Thursday. We have the first game here, Panthers at the Patriots. Patriots a 4-point favorite currently. Not sure who we're going to see. I think we're going to see Bryce Young a little bit in the beginning of the game. maybe the series or two just to see what we can do with the new guys. But it's going to be tough because we're not going to see Jonathan Brooks, obviously. Interested to watch Jatavian Sanders. Would love to see him out there. The wide receiver position now, also the depth. There are spots to be had there. So I'm interested to see how Terrace Marshall plays. Jack Plummer should play a lot, as should Jake Luton. Miles Sanders, he's potentially on the bubble, so that would be interesting. Dylan Johnson, the undrafted free agent running back. Mike Boone should play a lot in this one. Jalen Coker, undrafted from Holy Cross. Love that kid. Hopefully he plays well also. And defensively for Carolina, again, starters might not play a ton. So Trevin Wallace, the third rounder, we'll look for him. Show Smith Wade, the fifth rounder. DJ Johnson, third rounder from last season. See how he plays. Kaylavon Chason as well. Michael Barrett, the seventh round linebacker. And Willie Drew, I really liked him. Virginia State, undrafted free agent. Corner there, Jaden Crumedy, the D-end, sixth rounder here. Got some other guys as well that I think will play. Luigi Villain, Alex Cook, the corner safety as well. Should see Harrison Mevis a ton at kicker. And then for the Patriots, obviously we're looking at Drake May. How much is he going to play? How well is he going to play against the Giro Evero's defense? They have a lot of players, young players as well, players fighting for a roster spot. So Jalen Polk, Javon Baker, the wide receivers, Layden Robinson, the guard, Caden Wallace, the tackle, all rookies there. Jaheim Bell, the seventh round tight end as well. Joe Milton will be intriguing to watch him play. And then the backup wide receivers, the guys that are fighting those rookies and veterans for maybe one or two spots. Kayshon Boutte, sixth rounder last year. Tyquan Thornton, a second rounder in 22. Juju Smith-Schuster is on the roster bubble, squarely on the bubble. How will he play? Kawan Baker as well. Bailey Zappi might not make this roster. He has to show something to other teams. Kevin Harris as well, the running back. So those guys are intriguing on offense. Defense-wise, there's not a lot of rookies, really. They only drafted one on the defensive side of the ball. That's Marcellus Dial, the corner. But there are a lot of other guys to watch. Sean Wade, Alex Austin, Marco Wilson, Brendan Schooler as well. Joshua Bledsoe, look for him. A.J. Thomas just signed from the Birmingham Stallions. And other guys like Tristan Hill are on this roster. Josiah Bronson. So there's just some guys. Josh Uche. Mike Purcell just signed a little bit ago. And then the kicker position as well for New England. Joey Sly versus Chad Ryland, the fourth rounder last year. How will they fare there? And then the second game on Thursday, Lions at the Giants. The Giants, 3-point favorites. Probably not going to see golf in the first teamers, I would expect. So players to watch on offense for Detroit, Giovanni Manu, the fourth round pick out of British Columbia. Looking at these backup wide receivers to step up. Antoine Green, seventh rounder last year. Derace Fountain, Tom Kennedy. Looking at Nate Sudfeld, Hendon Hooker as well. Probably get to see him for the first time. Was cleared last year mid-season off of IR. Looking at Craig Reynolds, Sione Vaki, the fourth round running back, as well as Donovan Knight, Jamar Jefferson, Jake Funk. They have a ton of running backs with notable names there. Maurice Alexander, wide receiver. Donovan Peoples-Jones is on the roster bubble. They traded for him last year. Isaiah Williams, I like him, undrafted out of Illinois. Traquan Smith is on this roster, as is Caden Davis. Jalen Calhoun is a good player as well. We'll see how Dan Skipper plays. Kingsley Aguakin, the undrafted guy out of Florida. Defensively, will we see the highly drafted corners, Tyrion Arnold, Enos Rakestraw? They've been playing well in camp. We'll see if we do get to watch them on the field or not. Other guys to watch, Mekhi Wingo, the sixth rounder. Ben Neiman, Jalen Reeves-Maben. The linebackers there, James Houston at defensive end. Isaac Ukwu at defensive end as well. And then we'll see how Jake Bates plays in the elements. See if the Lions will regret waiving Riley Patterson or I forget who else they had there. And then for the Giants, I don't know if we're going to see Malik Neighbors or not, but I would not expect. Obviously, Daniel Jones is not going to play. So I'm not sure if we're going to get Drew Lock in the first team offense or not. Tyrone Tracy, I'm really interested to watch him play. Some of these backup wide receivers for the Giants, interesting situation. Isaiah Hodgins, Jalen Hyatt, the third round of last year, Gunnar Olszewski, Allen Robinson, Bryce Ford Wheaton, Isaiah McKenzie. Miles Boykin is there as well. Those are the guys that I'm watching. Eric Gray. Obviously, we're going to see a lot of Tommy DeVito as well. Jalen Mayfield is on this roster here at the guard. Lawrence Cager. How do the tight ends come out? Jashaun Corbin as well. Jacob Sailors from the St. Louis Battlehawks. Going to see him. And defensively, Tyler Nubin, Drew Phillips, the second and third rounders. Probably limited reps for them, but nonetheless want to see how they play. Darius Muasau, the sixth round linebacker. Love Timon Fox. We're going to see Elijah Riley at safety, David Long as well, Trey Herndon at corner. Darian Beavers at linebacker as well. And then, that is what I'm looking for in that game. And that is the end to the long show. I know, 2 conferences, a lot of teams, 28 in total. But hopefully everyone knows more about the AAC and the Sun Belt this year. Next Monday, we'll be back talking preseason week 2. We'll get to your preseason week 2 preview. A couple games on Thursday next week as well. And then we'll continue our conference previews with the Big Ten B1G. Hopefully we can get some comments from our Big Ten people, our Michigans, and Jimmy with his Ohio State. And, of course, I'll bring the Penn State vibes. And maybe we can get our guy Colin Schultz comments on how he thinks his Iowa Hawkeyes will do this year. Make sure to tune in on Friday. Friday, we're doing the Big 12. So some newcomers in that conference, just like the Big 10 had as well. And we will see you then. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast on Instagram and X, FAA_bets as well. FAApodcast.com is our website. You can check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. And we will see y'all on Football Friday. Enjoy the preseason on Thursday.